Today we're making a skeleton gravestone tower with an eternal flame. This gravestone tower is 7.5 feet tall and weatherproof. So join me for this awesome Halloween tutorial. To begin, we need a plastic skeleton. Now this particular one is from Lowe's, but you can get yours from anywhere that sells skeletons. We need a heat gun because we need to bend some of the bones to give it the shape we're going for. We're going to be bending the neck so it can look upwards. But remember, whatever I do is just a guide. You can do whatever you want with your skeleton to give it a unique shape as well. But first things first, we need to get rid of the legs. There's some screws right here in the hip area. Get rid of them. You can use the legs for something else, but we're only going to be using the hip upwards for this project. I wanted to take a moment to share with y'all the newest children's book I've written. It's called Oliver and the Lost Flame, and it's a Halloween story based on a young pumpkin named Oliver and his quest to save his town after their enchanted flame was snuffed out, leaving the town of Pumpkin Patch in disarray and afraid. This book is rated for children 3 to 10 years old, and it's available on Amazon via paperback. The book is also available internationally and has been printed in English, Spanish, and French. So if anyone wants to support me or read it to their kiddos, go check it out. For the base, we need a piece of wood that is 2 inches by 12 inches. Now, they sell these in 8-foot sections. So we've measured 12 inches. This is going to be the base. We're going to cut this, and then we're going to attach our flange and PVC connector. So once we've cut our piece of wood, we're going to attach 2 things to it. We're going to attach the floor flange, which is 1.5 inch size, and the PVC adapter, which is also 1.5 inches in size. Now, everything I use on this channel, I always link down in the description of this video. I don't get any commissions for any of the links, so it's not me trying to push anything particularly. If you find it in another store, go for it. I'm just trying to make it easier for you, the viewer, to find what I'm using. So we're going to attach this further back. The skeleton's facing that way. It's going to be heavier to the front, so we're putting it a little bit more to the back. And now we're going to cut our PVC. We're using 1.5 inch size PVC. You just need to buy yourself 1 pipe. We're cutting our first one to 16 inches. We're cutting 2 of them to 9 inches, 2 pieces to 3 inches. We're using 2 45-degree angle PVC connectors. These are size 1.5 inches, and we're using a T connector size 1.5. We're going to put all of this together and attach it with PVC cement. Now, one thing to note, as I've mentioned before, when you put the PVC cement on the inside, it's a permanent bond. When you push it in, you have 2, maybe 3 seconds to play with it, to move it, because after that, it solidifies and it's done. You can't move it anymore. So make sure that you visualize where you want all the angles to go before you put the glue inside. And now we can start putting it together. And so you can see how easy it is. We're going to put it together just like this. We put this right up here. Make sure you screw it in nice and tight like that. We get our T connector that goes here. Our 3-inch pieces are going to go in here. 45s like this. And our 9 inches right here. This is what you're going for. So essentially what I'm doing, and I haven't glued it together, I want this to be like this. I want the skeleton to look like this. You could make them lower, you could make it higher. All you have to do is play with this. And what is this for? This is for support. We're going to be covering this with monster mud, so you won't be able to see this, but we need support because monster mud is heavy. So these pipes essentially hold the arms up so it can be covered with the cloth, and that way you won't see it. So it's basically support. So I'm going to do it like this, and I'm going to start gluing it. I visualize, I know what I want. I sometimes get a marker and will mark a line between 2 pieces so I know exactly where they're supposed to connect. That's a little tip that I learned along the way. Once you do that, you connect everything, bam, it's solidified, you're good to go. We can move on to the next, which is attaching the skeleton, melting some of the bones to give it a new shape, and going from there. And this is what it should look like after we're done bending the forearms or the arms. Look what I did right here. I put a screw right through the arm into the PVC. I did the same thing to the other side. I used a zip tie. It holds everything down nicely. We put another zip tie back here. So now that we've done that, we need to apply a little bit of Loctite foam to a few locations. So right over here, we're going to apply Loctite foam in this area right over here. We want to connect the spine to the pipe so it's not as noticeable. We're going to put Loctite foam down here as well to cover it, but we're going to be using this foam right here. So when you get this foam, you apply the entire bottle. Then immediately get a spray bottle, spray the entire thing with water, nice amounts of water. Then wait 2.5 minutes, and after that, put some latex glove on and you can squish the foam down to form it better. That's what we're going to do right now. All right, so spray your glove, and after 2.5 minutes, it doesn't stick to your glove. So we're just going to push it in to mold it a little bit better. That way it doesn't really look like foam, and we'll be able to paint it later the same color that we did the monster mud. Let's see, push it in there like that. Perfect. And once you do that, then you can finish with the rest and then let it dry. To make our monster mud mixture, we're going to be using 3 ingredients. Now, I made a tutorial on how to make monster mud 4 different ways. There's a video that should pop down right up there. Click it, see the 4 different recipes that you could make monster mud. There's many others, but I did 4. Check out that video, see which one works best for you. For this recipe, we're going to be using joint compound, 12 pounds of it. We're going to be using 1 gallon of paint, get it in color gray, and 1 gallon of DryLok. Now, DryLok is a waterproofer. It helps let these props stay in the outdoors in rainy or wet conditions. I always use it. It does amazing. Now, we do not need to use the entire gallon of DryLok nor the entire gallon of paint. But what we're going to do is use all of the 12 pounds, put it in there, and then we're going to start putting it half a gallon at a time. Put half a gallon of paint and half a gallon of DryLok, mix it up. You want a thick, soupy consistency. So if it's still too rough or like mashed potato, you have to add more of each. There's no perfect science to this, so just add more at a time until you get the right consistency. So let's get our drill bit and let's start mixing. For this prop, I'm using this 4x5 canvas drop cloth from Lowe's. As always, all the items I used are linked in the description below. So it's very important that when we get our cloth into the mixture, you do it a little bit at a time. You don't want to put the entire cloth inside because then some areas are not going to get any of the monster mud. So we put gloves on, we start putting it in there, making sure you rub it all together slowly by slowly, getting it all in until everything is covered. Now, monster mud mixture can get heavy, but this size cloth is small enough that it should be fine for us. If you're using a larger cloth, you need more material and it gets heavier. So this size cloth I think is perfect for these half skeletons. So look what we have here. After we've mixed it all together, it's very thick and creamy, but it's still very flowy. You don't want it to stick like mashed potato. So you could even add a little bit more paint if you wanted to make it a little bit more watery. But look, this is great. We're going to dip everything to ensure that all parts are covered. All right, now that we've doused the canvas drop cloth into our monster mud, we can put it on top. So make sure you put a plastic on the ground. Make sure you're wearing something that you don't mind getting dirty, and have some gloves. I'm going to recommend getting longer latex gloves because every time I wear these, I always get it on my arm. So longer latex gloves. So let's grab our mixture, and don't wring it out or anything. just bring it up with all of the mixture. I'm just making sure that the mixture got on all parts. Okay, awesome, it looks good. Okay, awesome. Now here's where we create magic. Okay, this is gonna be very, very slippy. It's gonna wanna slip off everything. So you just have to have some patience. We love patience here. And then gently, we're gonna start putting this in the way that we want it. You can adjust this for hours if you want, because this is going to take days to dry. And I mean days. But normally I say it takes about 3 to 4 days to fully dry. All of this is gonna be painted with the Monster Mud mixture. And if you wanted to, you could even add another cloth on top of it. So we're just gonna play around with this till we get something that we actually really like. So this is what I think will work best for this build. We're using 6 styrofoam blocks, and then our creature is just gonna be right on top over there. Look really quickly over here. I've drawn with marker some thing that looks like it's gonna be stone. I'll bring the marker like this over here, and then I'll carve it out with a knife. That's one way to give it a stone look. Another way is just to do a brick look by going like this, and then marking it like you would brick, and doing it that way. I think I'm gonna go with the stone. You could also just leave it blank and just paint it like a stone, but I like the extra detail. Also, for the base, we could do the same thing, carve out stones, but I think I want a smoother finish as if it's an actual tombstone. So I'm gonna be using insulation foam board. We're gonna glue all of these 4 pieces together, and then we're going to attach the insulation foam board to the front of it after we've carved something on it. So it's important to note that this just makes it easier for us to stabilize the statue and to make it fuller. If you can't find styrofoam blocks, we could just build a frame out of basic wood and then attach the insulation foam board to the front. So you would get 2x2s or 2x4s, build a simple frame, super simple, and then just attach the board with some screws or some expanding foam. But I made a video, as I mentioned before, where I show you where to collect these styrofoam blocks. Check out my YouTube page and you'll be able to see the video on how easy it is to acquire them if you live in the United States. Then get your second block and put it on top. Move it back and forth like this. Push it down and make sure it's flat. All right, so what I've done here is I've printed out the message that I want to be in the front of this tombstone. You can print whatever you want. I just use Microsoft Word, and this is font 200, and we printed it and then cut it out, and now we're gonna stick it together using Elmers washable purple glue. So we're gonna put this on the back of the paper and on the board itself. Then we're gonna set it down just how we have it here. And after it dries completely, we're gonna use our Dremel tool to carve all of this out. I made an awesome tutorial on how to carve tombstones just like this. There should be a drop-down link right up here somewhere. Click it, go check it out, make yourself some awesome tombstones. So we glued the front with expanding foam, and we used a couple screws just to hold it in place while it dries. Next, we're gonna use Loctite foam. We're gonna put it on this entire side and on the other side, but one side at a time. Once we apply it, we're going to spray it with water. We're gonna do the Loctite and water method. Spray it with water as soon as you put all the foam down. Wait 3 minutes. After those 3 minutes, pat it down so it's a little bit more stone-like. Pat the entire thing down with latex gloves. Now, you can put ample amount of water from a spray bottle on it. It'll be perfectly fine. It forms a skin on it, which allows you to push it down and not get it on your gloved hand. So I want to show you something different that I did. I started to fill out the inside with foam. The reason we're doing that is because we want this to look like a stone piece, or to mimic something being carved out of stone or made out of concrete. So then we fill this in first with one round, bam, bam. Now that this has dried completely, we're going to fill it in just a little bit more with Loctite foam. As soon as we spread the Loctite foam, spray it with ample amounts of water. Cover the new foam with water from our spray bottle. Wait 3 minutes, and after those 3 minutes, you can pat it down with a latex gloved hand, because we want to fill in these gaps and just make it nice and flush. Any extra foam that comes out, we can cut it with a knife to make it feel like one solid piece of stone. So to hold up the back of our skeleton tower, this is what we did. We simply put a piece of PVC pipe. You can use 3/4 inch, you can use 1 inch, and then we just went crisscross with expanding foam. We laid it flat, we put this down, put foam. Once it dried, then you can put a rebar into the ground, and then this goes over the rebar to hold it up just like that. And of course, we put our light switch for our LED flame through the blocks into the back, just like this. Now we can paint this and it'll be done. For the LED flame, it was actually just a piece of wood that we put into the foam and then covered it with Loctite. Remember, we used the same method we used on the side. We put Loctite foam on top, we sprayed it with water, waited several minutes, and then patted it down to form this nice little shelf. Then we got our LED flame and we just pushed it in there like that, and we are good to go. And you can actually see the little piece of wood down there. Just a small piece of board we put into it. I think this was actually a 1x4, just a 1x4 piece of wood, slid into the wood, and then used the Loctite to hold it up like a nice little shelf.